Alright, so now we're going to get into this photo and unveil this photo and whatnot and get this going. This is the part of the video where I film myself. Look, I did cut myself. Yeah, I cut myself. These tabs are brutal. Alright, let's see how it looks. Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a while since I recorded a YouTube video on this channel. Too long, as a matter of fact. Last time I recorded a video and posted it on this channel was when I did aside from the 1000 photo moon stack that I did a video of photographing the Seder region. I think that was 11 months ago when I took that video, so almost a year ago. And we've made several leaps and bounds since then on overall progress in my astrophotography journey. Gear, the software, the editing, the processing, the knowledge that I've acquired, the whole 9 yards. We've gone leaps and bounds since then. I mean, when I did that video, I was using my Canon R7 mirrorless camera, which is just a stock, normal photography camera. That's what I'm using to record this video now. And then I had my Sigma 150 to 600 lens, and then my star tracker and the ASI Air. And that's all I used to photograph that and take that video and take that picture and whatnot. So we've come a long way since then, and I'm going to talk about some of that. And I'm also going to go over one of my most complex projects that I've ever done so far and kind of talk about that and give you the rundown on some of the things I did in order to achieve that photo. And the cool thing about that photo is that I was so proud of it that it became my first astrophotography photo that I printed. I printed a big 24 by 36 poster of that photo, and I'm going to show that in this video as well because that turned out to be pretty cool. And then the photo turned out good enough that the ZWO, the company that makes a bunch of the gear that I used to take these photos with, they actually posted the photo on their official Facebook page and their official Instagram. So I thought that was pretty cool that my photo got featured on there. They reached out to me and said that they liked my photo so much they asked that if they could feature it on their Facebook page and whatnot, and of course I said yes. I'm heavily honored that they even reached out and did that. So yeah, pretty cool achievement, pretty cool milestone. I never thought anything like that would happen, but let's get into some of the aspects of this photo and whatnot. The photo that I'm talking about is the Orion Horsehead Mosaic dual filter combination photo that I did. And I know that's a lot to go over and unpack, so I'll kind of explain the nuances of some of it. Now, this is not going to be like an in-depth tutorial on how I did it. I'm not going to go over like every aspect of the photo and how I did everything step by step, start to finish. This would be like a 2-hour video if I did that. So I'm just going to go over kind of some of the basic stuff. So the first thing is that a lot of the gear has been improved since the last video when I did the Seder region photo, and that's what I used to capture the Horsehead Orion photo. So some of the gear that I've upgraded since then is this ASI 533 camera. So this camera is specifically designed to do astrophotography photos. It's not like your normal, typical, everyday picture taking camera. It's specifically designed to do this type of photography. So it really helps out in capturing some of the stuff that your traditional cameras are not capable of capturing. And then on top of that, the other thing that I got that improved is the lens that I used to capture the photos. So this is the Rokinon 135 f2 lens. And it having an aperture of f2 means it allows it to capture a lot of light in a very short amount of time. So I'm able to shoot very, very fast exposures. To get a 5-minute exposure on my Sigma lens, I can do the same exposure with this lens, and it only takes 60 seconds. So quite a speed difference, going from 1 minute to 5. So really helps out in capturing a lot of photos in a short amount of time and really making the most out of the night. Now instead of projects taking 2-3 nights, I can do it in like 1 or like half a night, or so to speak. So really helps out for that. And then attached to this lens, which is also another game changer, is this red box. This is a ZWO electronic autofocusing system. So what it does is it autofocuses the lens throughout the night. That way I don't have to manually focus it and babysit the rig. I can just turn it on, hit start, hit go, and it'll just maintain focus throughout the whole imaging session. Really, really huge game changer as far as capturing photos and upping the level of high quality data and just overall making your life easier in general. And then the last part that I got that was not in the SATA region video, like I said, I got a lot of new gear to go over that we've upgraded and whatnot since then, is the guide camera and guide scope. So what that does is it has nothing to do with the actual photo being taken. What it does is it locks onto a star and then keeps the star tracking mount accurately tracking whatever it is you're photographing. It monitors the star that it locks onto and tells the mount to speed up, slow down, go up, left, down, right, whatever. That way the star stays perfectly centered the entire time. Because even though these tracking mounts are pretty accurate on their own, standalone, what they do, they're not 100% perfect, and there are some errors in there, here and there. So yeah, the guide camera and guide scope makes up for them errors and problems to help you get better, cleaner images and better, cleaner data to work with. Okay, so now here we are at my computer and some of the editing softwares that I used on this photo, and I'm not going to go over every single aspect of that I did and give like a tutorial rundown. I'm just going to kind of give a brief kind of example and kind of showcase kind of what's going on in this photo and what makes it so special and complex and whatnot, and why I said it was my most complex project yet. So earlier I think I mentioned that this is a mosaic photo and also a multi-filter band photo. So what that means is a mosaic is basically two separate photos stitched together to make one big photo. So because I'm shooting with an ASI 533 camera and a 135 lens, I feel the view is actually not big enough to fit both the Orion constellation and nebula and the Horsehead Nebula in the photo in one frame. So I actually have to take two separate photos of each target and then stitch them together, because the targets are pretty much right next to each other, but they're still far enough apart that I can't get both of them in one photo. So a mosaic is, like I said, two photos stitched together to make one bigger photo. So for example, that would be, here's the Orion photo just by itself, and then here is the Horsehead photo just by itself, and together they make up this photo that looks like this. So the other thing that I mentioned, like I said, is a multi-band filter photo as well. So what that means is I used two different filters in front of my camera sensor when capturing these photos. So the first filter that I use when capturing this photo is called the Optolong L-Enhance filter. So what this filter does is it isolates some of the light pollution and unwanted light that you don't want in your photo, and then it also amplifies some of the other ones by isolating out the ones you don't want and whatnot. So primarily this filter targets the color red and the red channels mostly when using it. So that's why you see all the red in this photo and whatnot, because that filter is mostly isolating and getting rid of any other colors that you see, and like I said, mostly targeting the reds. So that's why this photo looks like this, and you can see all the red gases around there and all the red faint dust and whatnot. That's why it looks like that, because I'm using that Optolong L-Enhance filter to capture some of this. So the other filter that I used is actually not really a filter in a way. It's considered a UV IR cut filter. So what that means is it basically just cuts out the ultraviolet and infrared spectrum of light, which is emitted by like a lot of stars and whatnot. So what that does is it cuts down on the star blow and makes the stars look, smaller and not so big and bloated and whatnot. But other than that, it's not really blocking out any light. So what you're getting is pretty much a true representation of what this target would look like to the naked eye if it were bright enough for you to see it. So what that looks like is, it looks like this. So here you have the Horsehead Nebula, and this is, like I said, broadband, basically no filter look to it. And this is what you get when you use that filter on the Horsehead Nebula. So this is the same photo as essentially this photo, just without a different filter. And then this photo again is the Orion Nebula without the filter, with just the UV IR filter, basically filterless pretty much. So like I said, it's the same photo as this one, it's just filterless. It's not isolating all those wavelengths and of light and whatnot, so it's allowing it to capture more of the colors that are present in the nebula. So what I did after getting all those different photos, essentially this is 4 photos combined into one. So after I did all that, what I had to do is merge them all together and align them and whatnot and get everything situated. And then after I did that, I went over into Photoshop and I blended the two together. So this photo is primarily like 90% Optolong L-enhanced photo. That's why you can see so much red in this photo. But then aside from that, what I did is I put the Optolong L-enhanced photo on top, and then underneath that photo is the broadband, more colorful versions of the Horsehead Nebula and the Orion Nebula underneath. And then what I did in Photoshop is I masked and brushed and painted around all the areas of the nebulas that I wanted to show in more color than just primarily red. So that's why you see, like in Orion, if you zoom in, there's like a lot of pink and purple and blues and whatnot in there, and in the Running Man Nebula on the side here. And then same with like the Horsehead over here, you got the blue up here, and then you got your lump stars down here that have a lot of that blue reflection nebulae in it and whatnot. And then you got like a little bit of reflection blue nebula over here, and then you got some in this cloud up here. So that's how I'm getting those colors back into the photo after using the Optolong L-enhanced filter, is I'm adding it back in with the UV-IR broadband filter and just kind of blending and mixing the two together. And that was kind of a tedious process, actually. It took a long time for me to get them to blend together to not look weird, and I wanted it to look like a smooth blend, smooth transition, seamless almost. And basically what I did is I just took a brush and erased and painted out around the areas of the nebulas that I wanted to show and whatnot. And it took a lot of time to really finagle it and get it to look good, be a nice smooth blend how I wanted it to look. Because there was a lot of times where it looked really jaggedy and kind of like here, for example, like this, you can see a little bit more around the nebula and whatnot, but it's you can kind of tell the transition is there. So when you add that back, now it looks a little bit smoother and a little bit better. So it was kind of a lot to finagle and finesse around and whatnot, but I managed to get it how I wanted it, and it worked out perfectly because the print came out good, and like I said, it got featured on ZWO's official Facebook page and Instagram page, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, it worked out perfectly. And then if you wanted to look, here is the starless version of the image. This is what it looks like without stars. So what I did for the stars in this image, here's another thing I'll show you guys. So you'll notice I have 2 layers here. One is called stars bright and one is called stars dim. And I think I have them actually labeled backwards or mixed up or whatnot. But the problem with Orion constellation and whatnot is there's 3 bright stars right here, and also known as Orion's belt. And those bright stars are excessively bright. Like, they're so bright they cause star halos, which you can see if I go back into Pixensight, you can see here's the star halos that I had to remove from the photo. That's another thing I did in Photoshop, is when I brought this photo into Photoshop, I had to go through and remove all the star halos and imperfections out of it and whatnot. So that's another thing I had to do in Photoshop. But that's the problem with those 3 bright stars in Orion's belt, is they're so brutal they make star halos. So what I did to the stars in order to get them to look good is I still wanted them to be bright but not overpoweringly bright. So I have 2 star layers here, a bright one and a dim one. So the bright one is pretty much all the stars in the photo minus those 3 stars in Orion's belt. And then the stars dim photo is all the stars again, but with the 3 stars in Orion's belt. So when you combine them together, you get a decently bright, all of the stars, but the 3 stars in Orion's belt are not so bright that they're overpowering the rest of the image. So that's how I got the stars to look decent and blend them in and out and whatnot to make it look not so overpowering. Because I'm not a huge fan of stars. They need to be a little bit in there in the photo and whatnot. You can, starless photos to me look cool as well, but for a more accurate representation of things, you leave the stars in there. But you dim them down a little bit so they're not so overbearing, and then you can see more of what's going on in the photo around the stars, with the nebulosity and the gases and the dust and whatnot that are present in the targets that you're shooting. So that's how I did the stars and whatnot in this photo. And like I said, it turned out really, really great. I'm super happy with how the project came out. Like I said earlier, we've gone leaps and bounds since the last time I took a photo and did the Seda region and whatnot. I wish I would have documented more of my progress in between there, because this is a huge jump from the Seda region photo that I took. The Seda region was just one night out with my camera for a few hours taking, with a stock DSLR mirrorless camera, and now we're using modified equipment and astrophotography cameras, special cameras, and taking multiple different photos with multiple different filters and merging them and blending together. It's a lot more technical and advanced than just the one photo that I took almost a year ago. So there's been a lot of learning and a lot of skills and challenges and trial and error that went into getting to this point that I wish I would have documented, which is the other thing that I want to do, is I want to try and get back into making videos more and kind of documenting my progress more, because who knows, in a couple years from now I might look back at this and go, wow, this turned out really shitty, I'm way better than this now, and I might have something that looks 10 times better than this. But that's my Orion Horsehead Mosaic multi-band photo combination. If you want to know more technical aspects of the photo and whatnot, you can just leave a comment down below and I'll try and answer whatever question you might have. But yeah, that's my Orion Horsehead Mosaic project. So let me know if you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the photo. I'll post a link to the full resolution image on my Astrobin. It's already up on Astrobin, but I'll post a link to it down below so you can go look at it in its beauty and its entirety at the full high resolution that it is. Because like I said, it turned out really great and I was really happy with the outcome and how it looks and whatnot. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what you want to see next. Like I said, I'll try and document more of my progress going forward and make more videos centered around things and whatnot and projects and what I'm doing. But anyways, that's the end of the video, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you. Alright, so now we're going to get into this photo and unveil this photo and whatnot and get this going. I have not put this in the frame yet because I was waiting to do this on video. Briefly peeked at the photo because when they sent this to me, it got lost in shipping for over a month for some reason. So I waited a month to get this. And then on top of that, when they put it by my door, my front door at my house, it was dripping water and wet from the snow melting and whatnot. So it was all wet on the bottom. So I had to take a peek at it just to make sure that it was in something and it wasn't all wet and the photo was ruined, which fortunately it wasn't. So I did get somewhat of a glimpse of it, but not full glimpse of it. So we're gonna open this up. So yeah, generally I'm not super into like printing my photos or anything, but I thought this one was worthy of having it printed. But this isn't like I didn't like go to White Wall or anything and have this like a $400 print or whatever like that. I just went on Amazon and ordered like one of those $20, $30 poster print things you can get. So that's all this is really. It's not like some amazingly super high quality print, but it's still pretty cool. Alright, let's see how it looks. Oh, that turned out great. Oh, that is awesome. It looks so good. There it is. The Orion Horsehead Mosaic Project 24 by 36 poster print.